Welcome to the final part of the fatal kidnapping of Valerie Reyes. Faced with all this evidence, Javier broke down and finally admitted to killing Valerie. They had got into an argument while he was at her apartment that led to him repeatedly punching her in the head, and he knew she was still alive when he put her in the case. Once he had admitted to the crime, Javier seemed to become very emotional about it, some might even say remorseful. He cried through many of his interviews and court appearances, constantly apologizing and insisting he hadn't actually intended to kill Valerie and had in fact tried to revive her multiple times. During one jailhouse interview he said, "I didn't know what to do. I don't know what happened. I didn't mean to do it. I'm a bad person." She wasn't responding. "I went and put my mouth on her mouth. I tried to put air in." When he was asked if Valerie had been bleeding, he just whimpered and cried some more, saying again, "I'm a bad person. I did something wrong. I didn't call the police because," he said, "I thought they would blame me." He then said he drove around with her body not knowing where he was going. When he returned to Queens, he was pretty much biding time waiting to be caught, and even claimed he withdrew the cash from Valerie's account to deliberately draw police attention to himself. Javier was charged with one count of kidnapping resulting in death. If he went to trial and was found guilty, he could potentially face life in prison or the death penalty. But this case took a long time to go to trial, partly as it had to go to federal court, as the crime had taken place in 2 states, but mainly because Javier's defense team kept trying to negotiate a plea deal for him, one that would get the death penalty taken off the table. His defense attorneys, the public defender team of Mark DeMarco and Jason Schur, tried to lessen Javier's potential sentence by portraying him as an otherwise decent man with no criminal record and a great reputation among those who knew him, but who had been forced to drop out of college and flee his home in Venezuela with only $600 to his name. In the time he'd been living in the U.S., he had kept his head down, working hard and being an otherwise model citizen. Though they didn't try to excuse the severity of his crime, they did attempt to make allowances for Javier by saying such a violent act was a result of him succumbing to stress, exacerbated by being separated from his family, and by an emerging drug habit. They referred to him as a broken man, someone who is sincerely sorry for his actions, and understands the horrific nature of his conduct. Eventually a plea deal was reached and, on February 5, 2020, Javier de Silva Rojas pled guilty to the charge of the kidnapping resulting in the death of Valerie Reyes, and was sentenced to 30 years in jail, plus 2 years of supervised probation. In White Plains Federal Court, Judge Vincent Brichetti called it a brutal, callous, cruel crime. Valerie's mother, Norma, gave an impact statement at the sentencing, saying, "You deserve nothing but pain and rejection. I want you to hear the words of a mother who you devastated by taking away my baby girl." To which Javier apologized, saying, "No words can express how repulsed I am by what I did. I will never forgive myself. I cannot ask you to forgive me because I don't deserve it. I would like you to know I'm very sorry." When he is released from prison, Javier will be only 55 years old, although ICE has indicated that he will likely be deported back to Venezuela once his sentence is over. While Javier may very well feel remorseful for Valerie's death, it's still hard to accept everything he's said about this case. If it really had been, if not an accident, then at least a crime of passion he hadn't premeditated, then why did he switch his phone to airplane mode before going in? It was midnight, he probably wasn't going to get any calls or interruptions. Personally, I believe Javier was furious at Valerie for moving on from him. While the plan might not have been to kill her, I believe he did go there intending to cause her harm, essentially punish her for daring to leave him. The attack itself and the aftermath seemed fairly improvised, making use of whatever he could find in her apartment, like the case and the tape, etc. If you want to be a real armchair psychologist, you could suggest that the underlying reason he took such effort to put Valerie in the suitcase was because he didn't want to look at her, or didn't want to look at the consequences of his behavior, like an out-of-sight, out-of-mind attitude. Transporting a suitcase is definitely less personal and more removed than physically handling the dead body of the woman you killed. This is purely speculative. In the many hours afterwards when he was alone with Valerie's body and his own thoughts, I can believe he might have had very mixed feelings about what he had done, and potentially did regret it. But if he was genuinely remorseful enough to the extent that he'd try and leave clues for the police to catch him, then why would he not just hand himself in after it happened and save Valerie's family the weeks of searching for her and then trying to get her justice? Rather than what he did do, which was take steps to cover up what he'd done, destroy any evidence he could, and take actions that would have had no purpose except material gains for him, such as exchanging Valerie's property for tech he preferred. But what do you think? Thank you for watching the video. If you like the story, please hit that like button and subscribe. It may not seem much to you, but it means the world to us.